Hey everybody, we have the popcorn chicken or partly made popcorn chicken. We will be finishing this off today, making the batter, as you can see. Can you see that? Just like that. And we're going to talk about, because it's Friday, about what nobody tells you about raw veganism. And in fact, most of this talk is going to be the basics of raw veganism, which probably aren't talked about a lot because people tend to get so excited. Is this on? Yes, it's on. I was checking this, lady. People tend to get really excited about the healing properties of raw veganism. It transformed my life. But there are some basics which many people do not know, do not talk about. And raw veganism can seem quite overwhelming. So we are going to talk about that today. I did want to mention the plant-based bundle is still on at the moment. There is over 80 contributions. I think more, 90, maybe, yeah, about 80 or 90. And there's ebooks and courses. There's like 24 that are raw vegan from like people like myself. My 3 ebooks are in the bundle. Now, if you bought them by themselves, they're that whole package would be $70. Sorry. But in the bundle, you get all 3 for $50, plus you get another 80 contributions. Like Jillian Berry's got, I think, her course and 3 ebooks. Melissa Maris has got $350 worth of content in there with her partner. Chris Kendall's got 3 of my favorite ebooks of his in there. So lots in there. We will also today be finishing making the popcorn chicken. I just showed you guys. I finished this first part yesterday. I didn't link it, but I will link in the description how to make the first part of this recipe. And they will end up looking like this and like this. And there's a dipping sauce there. They look amazing. They taste amazing. So there I am. Okay. So like there's some really basic things like what is raw veganism? And raw veganism to many people is like, oh my gosh, I consume this food and my whole life changed and I did it. And they get really like dramatic. And it's because most people who come to this have had a lot of health issues. But look, it is a plant-based diet. The food is unprocessed. It's not heated. A lot of people will have their food still between 40 to 48 degrees Celsius. And this preserves what people say, the enzymes. It does preserve enzymes, but what role they actually play, there's not much scientific data on that. There's a lot of nutrients. You get all the nutrients. You also get the hydration. You also get the flavors. So that is what raw veganism is in a nutshell. Before you say, you know, it saved my life, like it completely changed my life. That's what it is. And many people come to this for different reasons. A lot of people come to it because of health reasons. It's also good for the environment. I mean, you're literally not cooking. Most things don't come pre-packaged. We're not using industrial machines and stuff to process our food. Ethical reasons for animals' rights, but I mean, people can go veganism for that. People like to be more natural. And I think a huge reason is spiritual. One of the things that keeps me staying raw is this spiritual aspect of being connected to something greater than myself, which I only really get. I feel cut off when I have too many processed foods in the sense of like tamaris or if it's even dehydrated too much. When you have like that fresh food, you feel so connected to yourself, connected to source, connected to something bigger than yourself. So that is why to choose doing it. You also get great energy levels, better digestion, an overall sense of well-being. You find a lot of people talk about they just feel good. They feel like themselves. I highly recommend trying it. So there are benefits with vitamins. There's higher minerals, antioxidants, as I said, better digestion. There's weight loss, clearer skin. I spoke on more energy. Look, the scientific evidence on all of this varies. And this is why I think there's a lot of anecdotal evidence, which is like people, and I myself share a lot of what people experience, because it's really hard to capture what raw veganism is. So now, are there any risks associated with raw veganism? I think the biggest risk, and Melissa and I spoke about this in a podcast yesterday, is using this as a mask for some sort of eating disorder. A lot of people who come to this diet have been absolutely traumatized to an inch of their life, usually from different health reasons. That can already have underlying eating disorders attached to it. Coping mechanisms can be eating disorders, and raw veganism can be, for a lot of people, a way to kind of mask that. So if you were to do a scientific study and say, raw veganism, there's statistics that say it's not always healthy for people, I think that is something to take into consideration, is that the people who come to this have already been through a lot. It would not surprise me if people even got here and, to cope with what they had been through, then developed one, because there is a lot. This is why I want to go through this, because people can feel it's a lot to learn. So that's why today I'm just going through what really nobody talks about, and that's just the real simple basics of it. When it comes to potential risks of doing this, the big ones I always already mention as a coach are B12. It can be synthesized in the gut by the microbiome, but a lot of people have gut issues. So B12 is very important to make sure you get, whether you take a supplement or people sometimes use nutritional yeast. Vitamin D for a lot of people, there is ways, and I do have in my free community many handouts of ways to get different levels of vitamins, but B12 is in a category of its own. A lot of people are vitamin D deficient. All vitamins are important, but these are some of the ones that come up. And some people choose to supplement that. I mostly focus on, as a coach, B12. I also focus on omega-3s. I think it's really important to a lot of people, because they are unwell, it's really important to get enough omega-3s. Now, I don't believe in supplementing unless you can't absorb it. And in that case, you would use something like flaxseed oil, cold pressed. But you want to look at chia and flax seeds. And how that kind of runs is, whenever you're making a dressing or salad, if you're using all cashews or all macadamias, which are higher in omega-3s, omega-6, and that can be anti-inflammatory, especially if you're healing, is try and balance that, whether you cut down on the amount of cashews and use some flax or chia. And I tend to recommend using golden flax or white chia, which I'll be using today in the recipe, because they're white. They still look like the same. The recipe will be a little bit more gel-like, but your health will be much better. Or on the top, sprinkle some omega-3s. I think omega-3s are really important. And the other one is selenium, which is really important for thyroid function. And we need to get that in from things like Brazil nuts, also nori. There is also, what I recommend is, it depends how sick you are when you first come to this lifestyle. And I keep bringing this up because that's what mostly drives people here, is at the start, you may want to test your blood things which can help a lot of people in my free community. You want to always check things like calcium and iron and make a decision based on where you are. And you will find none of this is completely specific to the raw foods. It is more about somebody's general health. And I'll give you an example of that. So most of my life, my blood test came back, I'm missing my stomach, duodenum, top of intestine. So I'm missing areas of high absorption of nutrients. And I needed injections, especially of B12 and iron, like iron literally every 3 months. Even when I was on paleo, which was like fruit, nuts, and meats. And I went vegan and my blood work got worse. My body stopped actually making proteins. I was getting low in weird things like calcium. Everything's always been out of place. I went raw. I ate a raw diet and my blood work just kept increasing and getting better. In the past 4 years, I have had 1 iron infusion and I think 3, maybe 4 B12 shots. That used to be B12 and iron every 3 months for me. And I'm missing part of, don't worry about the stomach for a second, but the small intestine where nutrients get absorbed. And I think something twofold happened there, and that is that this nutrition is readily available with hydration, right? And my body could assimilate it. But also, I believe when you start eating raw foods, you come back to your animal instincts of what the body needs. And I intuitively was like, I need a lot of greens with, you need vitamin C to absorb iron. And I was having like a lot of citrus over everything. And so I do believe something instinctual happens when you go raw vegan. And you should follow that. If you have been following me, you'll know I'm not an advocate for you have to do it this way. I'm an advocate for getting back to that instinctual part, like healing yourself naturally will not be in somebody else's guidebook. There'll be parts of it which will encourage you. If you hear someone talking, even like myself, and you resonate, try it. But to get back to that instinctual healing, I think that is something very important about raw veganism. That you can't get from cooked. You just are dead. Your brain has no energy. When I think back to when I was eating like even a vegan diet or paleo or any of it, it made me feel a bit better, but essentially it's like being brain dead until I got on raw and I felt alive and activated. That's probably the best way to describe it. Someone finally activated me. So you can get deficiencies, but you can get deficiencies on any diet. And I see a lot of people, more people on different diets with chronic deficiencies than I do as raw vegans. As in like, I guess there's more people on different diets though, but people who just think it's normal to be deficient. You are going to be eating a diet which is like literally just nutrients and hydration and God's essence. And if you eat raw, you'll understand what that is. You'll feel it, that sacred geometry. Okay, so what are some common challenges for raw vegans? Because we do have them. And I think the biggest one is the fact that the food tastes amazing. You can get online and you can see it and you're like, I want the watermelon juice and I want this and I want this. And you open your door and your neighbor's barbecuing. And the next person you walk through is having a coffee. Kids are on the street eating chocolates and lollies. Then you turn the corner and there's the bread shop, the pizza shop, and you're smelling it all. These are the difficulties. The whole world will tell you, not just verbally, but it's shouting from billboards. Like you see advertising and it's saying, eat this way. That is what you have to overcome. And back to that spiritual side it's such a journey in that the rewards you get are not something that can be pinned as a medal that people can see. You do lift weights and you get medals and all of that type of thing, or you run a race and you get a medal. The only person who's reaping the rewards here is you. You wake up every day and look in the mirror and you have to be proud of yourself that you walked even 100 meters past all these smells and foods that you used to didn't have, and then maybe you had to go home. That is tough. It is tough. The greatest suggestion when it comes to leaving the house as a raw vegan, even before we get into a social situation like a barbecue at a family event, is take a bag of food wherever you go, at least for the first year being raw. And I mean pack that bag. You pack that bag with your bananas and apples and some veggies and maybe a dip, a dressing if you've got it, a few nuts and seeds. Like literally for the first year, I did not even go to the beach, and the beach is across the road, without a bag of abundance. And what I didn't eat, I would put in the fridge at night. I have a friend who's high raw, and she still does this. Everywhere she goes, she carries a bag, just a plastic bag for her, of her food. Because as soon as you want to eat the barbecue next door, or you want to eat the coffee, you could do that, but put some food in your mouth, put a banana, put some dates, have a handful of nuts or seeds. Do yourself a favor. Eventually this will stop. It will calm. You'll be disgusted most of the time by these smells, but this is the hard part. Each stage of becoming raw is a very different experience in itself. The first part is so beautiful when you first go raw, but it's also the most challenging. And that's where you've got to be your own cheer squad. Like, I did this, I overcame this. I got down the street today with just my bag of veggies. But even for a lot of people, they start high raw or a whole food plant-based. So that's something to think about as well. But a huge part of it is just overcoming the world every day. And in social situations, going to restaurants, I always called ahead for safety reasons if I knew where I was going. So safety reasons, I mean, so I felt less anxious, because you can feel very overwhelmed. You're going into an environment where people are literally having 4 or 5 courses plus wine plus coffee, and you're going to have a salad and you're hoping there's a salad. I would call ahead and say, I think, is that still, oh, so sorry, I think it keeps cutting out, but I'm not sure. Call ahead. So call ahead and find out that they have a salad. If they don't have everything you want on that salad, look at other dishes. They might have, almonds on something. Can you put some almonds on top? I see you have some broccoli on another recipe. Can you put some raw broccoli on top? I'm also going to bring an avocado. Is that fine? Also, do you do juices? Can you put some lemon in water? Like, really plan before you go, especially the first year. Now I can go and I'm like, well, I've got some nuts in my bag and an avocado, I'll throw it. I don't think about it. So it does get much easier. But at the start, I did always call, and I always planned to order 2 salads or something. At family gatherings, always take your food. Even if they say I'm making something for you, I promise you there'll be something you can't eat in there and you'll feel overwhelmed and anxious. So it is better off to say, that's nice of you. I'm just going to bring my own. They may still make you something that's very lovely, but when there's like roasted almonds and honey and something else on it, you're not going to be upset, because you can feel really anxious when people are eating and drinking and having coffee all day and chocolates, and their whole thing is about food, and you're better off to bring your food. And eventually it's not like this. You can bring some of your food, have an apple, you won't think about it, and you'll be there for the people. But at the start, it's really hard. So my suggestion is go everywhere with what I call a food bag. I've shown mine before. It's just a little, I think you guys call it a cooler pack. We call it an esky. It's just like a little bag, and I just would fill it up, and at night, whatever's left, just put the whole thing back in the fridge, and the next day pull it out, top it up again, and keep yourself nice and full. So yeah, I think that's a huge one, the social situation. So the other challenges faced is people not getting enough calories. Now, this doesn't help the situation, but when I first went raw, I was getting better and better, but I actually got skinnier, but I looked so much better. And someone actually said to me, it's because you're alkaline. So around my middle, all the puffiness went down. Around my face, my eyes were actually yellow because my liver was failing. That all cleared up. I got skinnier, but I actually was losing inflammation. I was already at that stage. I was being very skinny in my life, but at this stage I was about 47 kilograms, 48 kilograms, and I was going down. But eventually I came back up, and I found, especially at the start, even intuitively, I'd eat all day, but then I get into bed and want avocado. Get up, have the avocado. I mean, I'm coming from, and a lot of people are, addictions. Like, I'd been vaping, drinking. I could have ordered some takeaway, but I decided to have an avocado. What you do in that first year of going raw is this is my opinion, don't focus so much on curing a disease as you do staying raw, because that's the tough part, right? You don't want multiple battles. Like, I'm trying to stay raw, but also I'm trying to do low fat. I'm also trying to not do vegetables. You'll have a nervous breakdown. And then you'll think, I hate raw foods. Raw foods didn't work for me. Whereas it's like anything, you can't become a world famous runner by waking up and just running the Olympics. You have to start at little athletics, and then you have to build up to, junior athletics, and you're training every week. That's how you get to the top. You're in training. You do not, and even if you're like, they say fat's bad. For the first year, it's like, who cares? You're trying to get raw. Well, you got to work out what your goal is. Unless you're like I say stage 4 of a disease, then it's life or death. So you are willing to sacrifice. But if your brain can't comprehend the next 40 or 60 years only eating lettuce leaves and watermelon, it can't, coming from where it is. So be a realist, be realistic, and level up. Like, always level up. If your goal is to only eat fruit, level up. Like, start where you're at. If you're eating like a real heavy diet, don't think and even if I see this all the time, there's very few people, I can count 2 who have done this, who have had the ability to go on to just fruit and then stay there. Everyone who pushes themselves really hard, really fast are the ones who fling all the way back to their original diet, and then they have to find their way of coming back up. So you're basically coming back up again. So you're better to just plod along unless you're extremely sick. That is something I will tell you about raw veganism. Even in Doug Graham's book, he says the first 6 months you will have nuts and avocados. In fact, that's 80-10-10. So where you're only having 10% fat, which is quite small. It's not the same as when you actually get to whatever diet suits your body. And for me, I can tell having a green juice here again is, and I've been having a lot of greens now. I've been off high fruit for over a year, just over a year now. And it's not a compensation. I still can't stop having greens. The whole time I was having fruit, I could not stop thinking about vegetables. So it's worth, as I've said, getting back to that animal that you are and what is it that your body needs. So let me have a look. Where am I here? All right. So that's I went off there, but the calorie part, you'll also, if you go with that. So when I first was raw, I was having a lot of dates and bananas and avocado. And I put on 12 kilos in 1 year. I could not do that on any other diet. All I did is lose weight. And I believe it's because although I had like things like constipation, diarrhea most of my life, and gut issues, is you're constipated. Your body can't absorb anything. It's stuck. And the raw foods flushes everything through, and all of a sudden I'm absorbing all these nutrients. So if you're underweight, I would say focus on, hey, Koala Mama, hey, Trina, focus on foods like that if you want to gain weight. Because if I can put on 12 kilos, and ever since my stomach was removed, I could not gain weight, and I went straight up. So there is higher calorie foods. I would focus on those. I also know that if I've seen people, I saw Faith Finds Fruit, who's been doing like really watery fruits for years. She said now her body's gaining weight on watermelon, or like a stable weight. So your body, if you eat enough calories, it will be okay. It's, once again, think of the end goal, not so much right now. And also there's things like milks, like you can do nut milks, which will add a lot of calories in if you can't digest the milks. I think nut milks are a really good idea. Anything that someone can suggest that's not raw, I promise you, if you ask me, I could tell you the raw version of it, and you will assimilate it a lot better. So it's all a mindset. Is people will find any way not to, if you're not really in it, you will find the first or third or ninth excuse not to do it. Finally, something tips you. Whereas if you're all in, you'll find a way. And for me, it's life or death. Like I was near death, and this was like totally life. So I knew every way I have to find my way through. And when you get that mindset, you will not focus on what you can't have and what you can't do, but what you can do. It's saying balanced nutrition, but I think that's a bit of a crock of crap, because all you're eating is nutrition. There's not preservatives. There's nothing like carcinogenics from cooked things. I don't think that's really the truth. So I got a general list here I'm basically talking about my experience, but I got a general list of topics that you guys would want to talk on from ChatGTP that are like the most common questions asked. So it's interesting to see what's here. Some of them I agree with, but some of them not so much, because I mean, balanced nutrition, all you're eating is nutrition. So you're definitely getting nutrition. A lot of it comes to and is around fear. And it's overcoming that maybe what you've learned your entire life has been fake. That was the biggest shock for me, is when I had so many doctors and so many experts tell me what to do, and I couldn't read or write, didn't know what I was doing except of what felt right. And I'd never heard of raw food. And I'm like, well, if this is the truth, what else have I been lied to about? And that's a whole rabbit hole of like, I really didn't know reality until I found the raw foods. So what else have we got here? Okay, so another challenge is appealing for raw foods, and it can be time consuming. If, once again, you will find any excuse not to be raw, but there's a million reasons to do it. I mean, I'm making popcorn chicken here. We're talking about a girl who I never knew how to cook. I was in a bed for like most of my life, most of it. And if there's a will, there's a way. Now, when we finish making these, you feel good. And my hobby is making the food because I wanted to choose a hobby which is like a self-love. It gives me more of me. And to me, it's pretty easy now. I can just go on with my life, have a salad while these are being made over, again tonight. So if there's a will, there's a way. There's also, I do share a lot of very simple recipes. I realize people want really simple recipes. So I do like 2-ingredient wraps, 3-ingredient bread. So there's no excuse when it comes to things like that. And people can dress them up. If you want a sweet bread, put some dates in it. So you've got to find the reasons to stay raw. You can't find your way out, because if you look for a way out, you'll always find a way out. You've got to find the way in every time. We might do one more, and then I want to do this recipe because I've got another interview after this with Brianna, who lost a lot of weight, completely changed her life with raw food. So that will be next. But we did that. Can raw veganism be sustainable long term? It says it requires a lot of planning to meet all your nutritional needs. Now, I don't think that's completely true. I think it is sustainable long term, but a lot of people don't need to stay raw. So being raw is very different to the norm in society. Now, if you get your body to a point that it's really healed and you have some sweet potato or quinoa or the occasional sushi out, and your body can break it down and not make you feel terrible, I say do it. I'm not someone, I just think that, first up, I think when you first go raw or you get up on raw foods, eat very light, you discover who you are. A huge part is like we never knew who we are. And I think that's a really beautiful experience to have in this life. And then while you're up on eating a lot of light foods is you'll do some healing, and you get to decide how much healing you want to do. But if you eat foods which are cooked and you have not a great experience, it's your body just can't tolerate it, and it's better to stay raw because I think you just feel good. It tastes good, lots and lots of flavor there. And as sustainability, it's like anything, your brain doesn't know any different. Like my brain doesn't even think about putting, I don't know, a packet of something in a microwave. I don't have any heating tools, but it comes in, and the only thing my brain now thinks about is putting a salad together, or if you wanted a pumpkin soup, I'll blend the pumpkin soup in a Vitamix. Anything that can be done that's cooked, you can do raw. But I do understand that people want to go high raw or half raw who have healed. And I think it's always what your goal. My goal when I went raw and I experienced it and I saw all the beautiful creations people were making was I realized I'd have to go lighter for a period of time. But my goal is kind of to be where I am now, which is eat what I want raw. But in truth, most of the times I'm doing juices, salads, dressings, a little bit of my bread with a simple salad, and then things like this once or twice a week. It's not 3 meals a day. So I think that's important as well. Now we can go through more of these another time, but I think I just wanted to go over the basics really of what a raw vegan diet is, and what some of the because I think we can get very caught up in like it healed this and it healed that, but what actually is it, and the foundation, and talk on that. So we will now do, let me see here, the popcorn chicken part 2 of the, here, let me do this, popcorn chicken recipe, because we did the first part yesterday. And this is what it will end up looking like. But at this stage, we have here. Now I'll move it so you guys can see what I'm doing. I'll move the camera. So they're looking like that. Let me just move that out of the way. Oh. There we go. Why am I'm not doing very well. I'm not, hang on. There. Why can I not? Ah, there. No. Okay, we're moving this anyway. So this is the meat that we've already made. Sorry about that, guys. Now we are making the batter. Now this is like a really good batter recipe if you guys ever want to make a batter. So we've got here the blender, the Vitamix, and into that, if you want the full recipe, it's in the plant-based bundle. I will put that here. And that's only on for a couple more days. So in here we put the cauliflower. Now that looks like a small amount as well of the popcorn chicken, like one serving, because I only did half a batch because it's just for me. So we're doing this. I'm really not getting my camera angles great today. There, that's better. And then we've got corn that goes in. So that's a half corn, half cauliflower mixture. Now I'm just going to blend that before we put the binders in. I like to do it in two parts, okay? So put that there. Oh gosh, where's the lid? Where is my lid? Maybe it's in here. Oh, there it is, right in front of me. Oh, it's Friday. That's probably why. Let me bring this up so you can kind of see me. Just there. We'll just blend that up a little bit. This will get very watery. Or like creamy. Okay. So that what you notice when you blend any vegetables, just vegetables, they will get very watery. You may think at the start that it doesn't and that it's gone chunky, but you give it time and just mush it. That's the thing about being a raw vegan. You get an extra workout when you put your tamper in the Vitamix. Okay, so we've got that. Then it's this. This should have been soaked chia seeds, but it's about a tablespoon. But I only got them this morning, so they're not soaked, which should be okay. If it isn't, I will add a little bit of water. I am adding a tablespoon of sea moss. These are my binders. Now, as for just a tablespoon of lemon juice, I always like a little bit of acid in most foods. And for the flavor, there's already flavor in the meat. This is simply the batter. So I think about a teaspoon of onion powder is going in. Yeah, maybe that's a little bit more. And then just a crack of salt, which is give or take, depending if that's what you want to do. And then we're going to blend that again. And you have batter. We have batter. So I did have black chia seeds, but let me move this out of the way. I did not want to, banners. I did not want to use black because then the batter would be black. I wouldn't use it. You'd need to use white. I love white chia seeds. They're probably the seed I use most. Now I put this into a container and we're going to batter our little popcorn chickens. But I mean, technically you could batter whatever you wanted. But there is a trick to this batter I'll explain. There's the batter. Let's bring the popcorn chickens over. They're there. This is here. We're just going to drop these in one at a time. Just coat that and bring it up just like that. Just like that, and put it on. Now these will get 2 coats. So we will put this in for 4 hours. Then after 4 hours, it'll get its second coat and that will make it fluffy. That's the trick. I mean, you could do it like this, but we want fluffy. So, and as you can see, don't be afraid to just plop them on. You could technically just do this with veggies as well, like tempura type veggies. But today we're making popcorn chicken. I might do that sometime as well. See, with raw foods, what they don't tell you, if there's a will, there's a way. Depends how much you want your health. That's what I think you have to decide. A lot of people do that, including myself. It's like your why. Like the reason I committed to this was like, Sky, after all you've endured, all you have to do now is eat the food raw. Like that's the thing, is there's nothing else you have to do now to have your life but just make food raw. And I think that's how this all evolved. So we'll put this up. Thanks, Koala Mama. I hope you like them. They are easy. And as I said, you could, if you wanted to, you could do it with veggies or anything. But this is actually a real treat. There is a dipping sauce as well, which is like sweet and sour. And it is strawberry based. I might make that tomorrow when these are ready. I will go on live tomorrow or Sunday and show you the result. But you do a second coat, then you leave these until they're crispy and crunchy. Okay. That's it, into the dehydrator. Now I've got in my ebook at 110 and I made all my recipes at 110. I usually step my dehydrator up to 115, but if you wanted to be safe, you'd use 115. So that's like the first part. 4 hours time, you want it, there's batter left. You want to double dunk. So the full recipe is in the plant-based bundle, but it's corn, cauliflower, chia, sea moss. That's the most important parts. And then you can flavor it how you want. I used onion powder and a squeeze of lemon and salt. But if you want all the instructions, the plant-based bundle is on only for a couple more days. I mean, you can get my ebook anyway, but this is one of my, usually I just give away free recipes, but I have ebooks and this is one of my ebook recipes. So if you do want the full recipe, you're going to have to get the ebook for this one. Yeah, so that's that. That's how we make popcorn chicken. So good. Trina's going to make them. I hope you enjoy them. They are a treat. and I will jump back on and make the sauce with them. I'm actually going to have these. I prefer my raw foods, my dehydrated foods, with like a lot of fresh. So I think I will put these on top of a salad, which is how I have them in my ebook. Yeah. So I hope everyone has a great weekend, and I'll be back next week. Next week, we have the raw food party, but we're doing it live on YouTube this time. So we usually do it just us. Like we've got myself, there's Miranda, there's Melissa Maris is coming. It's Asian cuisine, but we will stream it live to YouTube so you guys can hop on and watch it, ask questions. I will say, if you look at our past parties, I have never been in a situation with so much information from different sources in one spot, because they're all people who have been raw vegan for extended periods of time, chefs, people, health coaches, and everyone has a lot of information. So it's worth joining and watching all the recipes that we bring, because it's an Asian theme. You guys can bring your own Asian theme recipes as you watch. So I'm thinking salad and kelp noodle ball. Oh, yum. Is that with these, or is that with for the Asian theme? I'm actually thinking, I love noodles. I have this like Asian noodle weakness. Though in the bundle I have had, you've probably seen, I did Chef Yin's cashew chicken recipe. That was so incredible. I did Liz's Korean barbecued spiced burger. Oh my God, Liz's bringing her sushi to the party. But I don't know what I'll bring yet. I mean, I could do these in a sweet and sour sauce with some noodles. Do sweet and sour, turn these into from chicken to dumplings. Popcorn chicken, sweet and sour. The sauce is sweet and sour, so maybe, but they won't last that long. They'll be on top of a salad. So there's that. There's also, I haven't announced this yet, but there's also going to be a Europe party with people like Chris Kendall. Who else is going to be there? Lilia, Daria, Raw Vegan Mama. So we're going to be doing that the week after. That will be, I don't know, it'd be hard. America will probably have to watch the replay, but for Europe, it's 11 a.m. CST time on the 26th. And the theme for that, I haven't even announced it yet, but I'm announcing it now. The theme for that is local cuisine, because we've got Europe. We've also captured Asia. So we're able to get Australia, Asia, and Europe. We're able to get America, Australia, Europe. So we're doing 2 parties, separate weeks. So the Europe one will be, local cuisine. So like Europe. So people are from anywhere, from Poland, from Italy, from Spain. So they'll be recreating something local. And I mean, in Australia, it's like meat pies and sausage rolls. I've done a sausage roll on my website. It's pretty cool, actually. It's a really good one. And it's nut free as well. I've got 200 free recipes on my website at rawskye.com, ROARSKYE. There's a sausage roll there, but I will have to think about what I bring to that one. So there's that party. Also, next week, there's the Women's Health Podcast. Hey, Kirby. So wellness with, is it Jovine? Jovine? You have to tell me how to pronounce that. Is saying kelp noodles with these. Yum. Now I want to go up and get kelp noodles. I actually have got a little zucchini. I might do some zucchini noodles tomorrow with it. Zucchini and cucumber. Got me thinking with the sweet and sour sauce. So next week is also the Women's Health Podcast. That will be, it's 8 a.m. So 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Tuesday next week. The party for you guys to watch is actually Monday, 7 p.m. EST time. But you'll see them all come up. And of course, there's podcasts and me making new recipes every day. Not every day, but a lot of days. So there's lots coming up. So, and if you ever want to know, I do send out a newsletter I try to do it on Sundays or on the weekend of everything coming up. I also, if you ever want to know what recipes are coming up and when the next part of the recipe is coming up, go to my YouTube channel, because I try and do the next live. If it's a weekend, I try and take them off. So I will just jump on when I have time and do these tomorrow. But during the week, all my lives with recipes and podcasts are up, or you can look at my story on Instagram. and I'm about to jump on with Brianna. So these will go in, and yeah, just put this to the side and put a second layer on to make them fluffier. All right, I will see you guys sometime next week, and have a good weekend. And next week, I'll see you tomorrow when I make the rest of this. Bye. I'll see you soon. I'm doing a podcast. I keep coming back. I don't disappear.